Good day, my lovely people. This is After Effects, and if you see the title, it says The Mental Abuse. Once again, we have the lovely and beautiful Vivi on the line. Good day to you, madam.
Good day. How you doing, bro?
I am astonished and I feel great. Mrs. Sutton has just decided to come into the building, even though she has a handful of snacks and I got very few. But I will not hold that against her.
You can't. You grabbed what you wanted before you came to do the interview.
Whatever. So, we're going to start off with a topic. Mental abuse. Sis, you the leader of this rat pack. Can you talk about some of the things that you have seen that could and have caused someone mental abuse?
Okay. Well, first, let's kind of define what mental abuse is. I did pull up like this article on betterup.com, and it breaks down the difference between emotional and mental abuse. Emotional abuse targets a person's feelings. It uses emotions to manipulate, punish, and achieve control. Rather than personal sentiment, mental abuse focuses on questioning and influencing a person's way of thinking and views on reality. Psychological abuse can cause a person to question their environment.
Nice.
So I want to first, talk about that because people deal with both mental abuse and emotional abuse at times, and sometimes one or the other. And I believe in every segment of our lives, we probably deal with one or the other, whether we realize it or not. I didn't know for many years that I was a victim of it. And people do it sometimes not knowingly that they're doing it. I don't believe everybody is doing it purposely. One of the things that listed as emotional abuse, I know I've done it where you give people the silent treatment.
Now, I ain't gonna say nothing, but I'm pretty sure you know your little brother is a little guilty because that's my favorite weapon. The silent treatment, I could go months, weeks, years possible, and I don't have to talk to you. But go ahead. I'm sorry for interrupting.
No, that's good because you need to know this. I mean, it's something that I use as well. It's not that I purposely feel like I'm abusing somebody when I'm doing it. But a lot of times if I stop talking to someone, it's either because I can't communicate in a way it's my way of letting them know I'm upset.
Right.
Ultimately, without having a conversation, which is not a very adult thing to do.
Well, I've never really grown up.
We all still growing in some areas. You need to learn to have those crucial conversations. But if you're like me and you've had relationships where you dealt with people who are highly opinionated or they loud talk you, which is another form of emotional abuse, you don't always know how to have those conversations. Or you were always expected to just be quiet and agree. It's hard to sometimes to know how to have crucial conversations. That's something I'm still learning to do. And I even find where I do find my voice and speak up, then I deal with other type of abuse, which is more mental abuse, where people make it seem like, oh, there was really no problem, or you're crazy. It wasn't like how you're saying, which is probably a little bit more intentional because those people don't want to acknowledge what they did or said.
Yep.
And they're upset that you're calling them on their BS.
Yes, ma'am. You absolutely right about that. I know for me, for a long time, and I've actually just gotten to a place where I can finally accept it. That mental abuse that one goes through, it's a mug. For like you said, for me, you know, I felt nobody cared or was listening to what I had to say. I'm a musician. You know, the Lord has blessed me with multiple talents. But you know, it's society has, and even some people that's been close to me. Oh, you not as good as so and so, and I can't stand that. Everyone has
Oh yeah.
a specific way that they do something. My way might not be your way, and your way might
Right.
not be my way. How you gonna tell me I'm not good enough? I mean, can you speak to something? Have you ever experienced something like that? I know I have
Oh yeah.
lots of times.
Oh yeah, the comparison thing. And we sometimes it's so entrenched in our lives, we do it to ourselves. A lot of times we get depressed and upset because we compare ourselves to someone else's either success or what it looks like their perfect picture. You know, this person is married. How come I'm not married? But it's taught to us that comes from home. When you growing up, a lot of times, you know, you're comparing in school between your siblings. There's a lot of things instead of you being looked at as an individual and just being encouraged in your strengths and help with your weaknesses. So yes, that is something I have experienced in all aspects. And church, yes, is very guilty of that.
Yes.
You know, you can't preach like so and so. You can't sing like sister so and so. Well, you don't pray like I pray. Anointed pray this way.
And it's crazy because you just led into the next question I was going to ask you. The church as a body, we're the light of the world. And,
Yes.
you know, if you see all these different documentaries on television and in all these different books, the very first thing they start off with, like even in college, they say the first mental abuse starts in the church house, which is crazy. Can you speak to that?
Well, I've never heard that before, but yes, there's evidence of mental abuse in the Bible, and I was prepared for that. Actually, one of the examples we could look at, David and Saul.
Yeah.
Saul, yeah, took David under his wing, and then David went and fought his first battle, and the people started singing King David's praises, and they were saying that he killed more people than King Saul. And instead of King Saul ignoring it, you know, he got jealous. And because, you know, they were praising David more than they was him. So after that, he just started trying to destroy David. You know, even actually trying to physically kill him. You know, first he tried to control him through his daughter, you know, and then David had a relationship with his son, and he tried to taint that relationship. You know, King Saul just tried to manipulate David and wanted to kill his reputation.
Yep, you're absolutely right. That leads me into the next follow-up, which is why do adults feel that it is necessary to compare children to each other? Way before they're even teenagers, they start off when they 5 or below. Why do they deem that it's necessary to compare them?
That's a good question. I believe first and foremost is something that has repetitively happened throughout life. A lot of times people repeat what's done to them. And one thing we don't consider is that, especially when we're looking at our parents, you know, we can be a little judgmental, but if we don't understand how they were raised, you know, we would just assume that they was just being awful. But if you had a chance to go back and see how they were raised, you can see kind of where the pattern came from. And even as we grow up, sometimes I find myself saying or doing things I never thought I was do or say. But when I look at where it came from, I know it came from my parents. So I believe parents do that. And you got to understand, a lot of people think that competition is healthy.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that to a certain extent it is, and in the right environment, it is healthy. So I believe if a parent has one kid that is doing, let's say, doing well in school, they make a straight A's, they studious, they're not talking back, they come home, they are obedient, but then they have this other kid who's not doing as well in school, who tends to talk back, give them a little hard time, I guess it's easier for them if they compare to other kids that maybe that they would shame them into doing better, or they'll see it as a challenge, which don't always work out. It really end up causes resentment between the two siblings.
I'm glad you said that because I'm getting ready to go here, and there's about to be a whole lot of people mad at me.
Uh-oh.
You know your brother. Society as a whole. Why do they feel that everybody needs to be the size of a toothpick?
Brother, you just throwing all kind of questions out there. I don't know if I can speak to society as a whole. And it's funny because I've always been a plus size. I was a plump little girl. So I've been heavy set all my life. But I remember learning at one point, before Twiggy, she's a famous model, became a model. A lot of the models were a little on the plump side.
Right.
That we actually admired, a little meat on the bones or whatever. But then when Twiggy came into play, everybody just switched. It seemed like their preference. You see a lot of it in magazines. So after that, it was kind of the image that's just been put out there in media and magazine. But I've learned that's not necessarily everybody's preference.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And also, brother, I want to say, just because people want to lose weight necessarily don't mean they want to be a twig. I know in my case, I want to be healthy. I want to be the best possible me.
Right.
And because I've been so overweight all my life, I'll cause a lot of damage to my body and cause myself a lot of health issues I could have avoided. But I didn't know better as far as my eating. So, but yes, as a society, I do believe that they're caught up with the image of body. That's why you get the fat shaming, which is part of mental abuse.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to make people feel ashamed for the way they look. And everybody can't control it. Or everybody don't have the right knowledge if they could. And then you have people who are plus size, they're trying to embrace who they are. They're trying to love who they are. And then you have another group of people who just want to tear them down, for whatever reason.
Yeah, it's like, for society, there is a certain image that the world tells you you're supposed to uphold. The one thing I remember telling my doctors is, listen, my family dynamic will never allow me to be a size 2. So,
I agree with that.
Losing weight, yes. But coming down to where I'm looking crazy, I will not do that.
I agree.
Another thing I'll touch on about what you said concerning mental abuse was the sibling thing. I know, being the youngest out of a lot of siblings, it does become you need to be more like.
Mm-hmm.
You need to meet this standard. And I know for me, it became really difficult trying to meet everybody's expectations. and not having my own expectations for myself. And it really took me to get older and really understand that everybody is their own person. And the only person you're hurting is yourself when you allow those kind of falsified expectations to be placed on you, one. And two, when you refuse to break the cycle. I had to learn to be okay with me.
Right. That's awesome. Because that's something I'm still learning to be okay with me, you know, and that I don't have to follow other people's expectations. That is definitely something, because we're born into their expectations.
Yeah.
You know, everybody that has a child don't automatically know how to parent.
Amen.
So
say that a little louder for the people in the back.
Everybody that has a child don't necessarily know how to parent. So you're kind of born into what they feel you should be, you know, and they're doing the best that they can, and again they go off of how they were raised, thinking, oh well, I turned out fine, so I'll just do what was done to me.
Like, I give you a perfect example of how, you know, everybody, it's always good to look, because I'm going back on, I want to be more healthy. But you remember last year, I was diagnosed with COVID and pneumonia. I took a significantly large hit. I took one of the biggest hits I ever took in my life. It was to the point that they literally thought that I wasn't going to make it. Grace of God, I'm still rolling. So, you know, I'm going back and forth to see these heart doctors. And so I had to go see a specialist this one particular day. And I'm so glad that I am happy with me. Because, like, if I wasn't, people don't know. Like, I'm going to just go into this a little bit, and then I'm going to tell you about what happened. So, for pretty much my whole entire life, very few people know this, but I struggled with suicide and depression for about a good 30 plus years.
Okay.
I tried to commit suicide on several different occasions. To the point that, you know, it made myself sick. But the reason why I brought this up, when I went to go see this specialist, and I'm not going to call out the hospital that this particular person works for.
Okay.
The dude straight up told me, and I kid you not, he said, and I quote, that it's hard for fat people to come back from COVID and pneumonia.
Wow.
It took every ounce of God that I have in me not to toss him out of the 6th-story floor window. I literally wanted to punch his lights out. But that wasn't his only statement. He made several more disrespectful statements to me in regards to that in the same visit. And literally, I thank God that my wife was there, because she was able to calm me down. Because if it hadn't have been for her, which you don't have no evidence that fat people can't come back from COVID. Carmen, you want to go ahead and speak to that?
So the thing is, again, there's always a certain perception.
Right.
There are statistics that say when you're overweight, it tends to cause more problems.
Okay.
That does not necessarily mean that a person cannot recover from a situation because of weight, but it is something to be mindful of. But I was always taught that people need to learn how to say things as in an encouraging way. When he said that to him, one, you're not encouraging him, you are discrediting him,
talking down to him.
you're diminishing him. Exactly. And my statement to the doctor, when the doctor said that, I said, where are your statistics that say that? And his exact words was, well, it's not statistics, it's just facts. Larger people have breathing issues. I said, not all larger people have issues breathing. I said, so when you make a statement like that, it would be greatly appreciated that, one, you say it in a correct mannerism, and two, that you have facts to back up what you're saying.
Yeah, he wasn't professional at all. No bedside manner.
Not at all. And I mean, we did run throughout that situation. We did run into a few that, like, his first day in the hospital, he just starting treatment. He's just starting everything. And I got there just in the nick of time for the doctor to come in. And the doctor was recommending a medication that's FDA approved for one thing, but not COVID.
Okay.
And he was saying that he wanted to try it. And I said, well, what are the benefits of this? What are the side effects of this? Can you explain this to me? And he was like, well, it won't hurt. He's not getting any better. And my follow-up statement was, sir, he just got here. He just got here.
And, right.
So
but he was blessed to have you there.
Yeah, but I mean, this is the thing with the whole mental, because had I not been allowed, and especially in the very beginning of COVID, nobody was allowed to be with you if you had to be hospitalized.
Yes, true.
So I'm upset that he got it at all. But if I have to thank God for anything, is that he got it when things were a little bit more laxed.
Okay.
So that I was able to be present and of support and of aid. And that's where we talk about the mental abuse. We have to think about the authority. Because
that's true.
With authority, it's easier to use that power to mentally abuse others. And I totally agree with you when you say some people don't even realize they're doing it.
Right. Because they don't expect you to question them, or if you do, how dare you? I'm doctor. I went to school. I know what I'm talking about.
Right. I'm parent, I'm grandparent, I'm pastor, I'm preacher, I'm this, I'm that. And, or just all around general, I'm grown.
Right.
And it's like, okay, while I understand that, there is certain things that you're not going to push off on me.
And that's the important thing.
Right, regardless to your position, there is just certain
Mm-hmm.
things you're not going to perpetuate onto me.
And that's what we need to learn to do, to set boundaries. And then I got to come to my favorite word, because that's what God's been working with me these past few years, is being able to set boundaries to offset mental abuse. There's some things you got to educate yourself on. You got to know what you can't question or what you should question. You got to know things for yourself. You got to research things. You can't just take people's words for it. So you know how to ask questions properly and what to expect, and to be able to communicate what you will tolerate and what you want to tolerate.
Yeah. Another thing I tell you, this whole situation with COVID, pneumonia that had me hospitalized, I've never been such in a depression state as I was, because after going through that, you know, the old thoughts, even though I had dealt with it on my own, suicidal thoughts, they arise, I should say, due to the fact, because literally the first 48 hours I'm in the hospital, and I promise you I'm not making this up, this lady had to be sent from hell or somewhere, because every hour and a half she was coming in my room talking about, you gonna die. We gonna have to send you to ICU.
Oh, wow.
I don't think you gonna make it. Oh, he ain't gonna make it. You gonna die. And you know, she said it so doggone much. And like I said, I dealt with.
Who was she? Was she a nurse or just another patient?
No, she wasn't a patient. She was a nurse.
Oh, wow.
And as I stated, I dealt with suicidal depression thoughts, and so as she kept, and I mean, like I've seen her more than I would ever like to, but she kept coming in. You not gonna make it. We got to send him to ICU. He need help. He get ready to go. And she just kept on, and so finally, Carr got sick or tired of that. She came up there and had the lady reprimanded, like, listen, my husband can't get better if you keep coming in there spilling that nonsense that you doing. And so I thank God, because I don't know what happened. I ain't see that lady no more. But the next lady that I had for the remaining time that I was there, God said you gonna make it. God said you gonna get out of this hospital. God said you are healed. Get up. Do your breathing exercises. You gonna start eating. You got a family that's waiting on you. I told you I was ready to give up. But she came in there and literally, I don't know if she had a 24/7 shift or she just, I don't think she had a break. Because every time I thought about going to sleep and rest and just contemplate on what the nurse before her said, she'd be right in there. All right, Mr. Sutton. No,
Awesome.
you gonna get up. You gonna make it. Come on. You can do this. Don't you do it. And so finally I got sick and tired of her coming in here annoying me. And I just simply said, okay, fine. That's what you want. I'm going to get up and I'm going to start doing it. So then I started doing my doggone breathing exercises. And after that, I started to doing the other stuff. The medicine was taken. And about, I don't know, around my 4th day, I started drinking water, a lot of it. I started drinking grape juice. I don't know what kind of grape juice the hospital had, but you know, that stuff ain't had not a bit of sugar in it. Yeah.
You didn't need it.
Yeah, it didn't do nothing for my taste buds. But after that, I started eating grapes. And then
Mhm.
eventually, I started eating food.
That's awesome.
Because literally, and I promise you, I don't even remember that lady's name, but I can never forget her face. And God had to send her there. And I always said, if I ever truly get to where I want to be financially and I run into her again, she'll never have to worry about nothing else. Because between God, my wife, and her, like literally, she stayed on my case. She was like a doggone basketball coach. Nope, let's go. Get up. I'm like, man, leave me alone. Just let me sit here. I'm not letting you sit here. You are not about to lay down here and die. You see your wife over there? I'm looking at her cross-eyed like, man, leave me alone. You ain't in this doggone hospital bed. She made me sit up. She made me go to the bathroom. She made me walk. She made me get out the bed. She made me sit in a chair. I'm like, you know what? I can't stand that lady. But the very thing that I needed and was mad at her for, I needed to get me back to health.
Exactly. And people don't understand how powerful words are. You know, they taught us when we were young, sticking stones may break our bones, but names never hurt us. But that was a lie. You know, I get why they was teaching us that to try to make us stronger, but words are powerful.
Yes.
And
Like,
even the Bible states that life and death is in the power of the tongue. So
well, the lady
Yes, it
before
do.
the lady before that one, I told you she was sent from hell because every 2.5 seconds you gonna die. We gotta send you to ICU. You ain't gonna make it.
Mhm.
We ain't got. Then at one point she said something that was just totally stupid. The hospital don't have enough oxygen to keep going up because you need more oxygen.
Yeah, you got people, and she might not was trying to do that, but you got people who are just paranoid, and they spread paranoia.
I mean,
I don't like being around people like that.
I was like, jeez. I'm like, I already know I'm not 100%, but you gonna make me feel 3,000 times worse?
I mean, and that's the whole thing. As we're discussing mental abuse and the power of words, I can understand that because growing up, you know, I was compared a lot to my siblings. I was told that I was never going to amount to anything.
Yeah.
And when you're told that, you begin, especially when you're a child, you begin to become what's spoken over you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I don't think people really understand how powerful that is.
Yep.
Because being of Christian faith, we're taught to speak life into their situations.
Mhm.
And what I realize is some people are threatened. So because they're threatened, they will rather speak death than life.
Yep.
Because there
Definitely.
are some people that just don't want to see you become what God's called you to be.
You remember in the beginning of our marriage, because I was so depressed,
Yes, Lord.
so in tune with having suicide thoughts, that literally I was basically cold. I had no feelings for anyone because I was literally counting the time until you did something to me because that's what I was used to. You know, if I was good at something, they would stay around just long enough to say, okay, cool, I got it and I'm gone. Dealing with that kind of the psyche. So what I did was, because I am a drummer, I started putting everything I had to relieve stress into drumming until I had some high school classmates, a person at the church, a couple of people in the marching band that I was in. You ain't good as these dudes over here. I don't even know why you playing. I heard that so much, I literally stopped playing drums for about 10 plus years. I wasn't going back to that. Because that was the love for me. I loved it, but after so many people said it, I was like, screw it.
Right.
Why
do it?
I mean, I felt in such a deep, dark depression that I listened to them old blues songs.
Oh
Um,
that really put you into depression.
right,
Yes, Lord.
like I was in that. I became isolated and secluded. Yeah. I mean, I didn't have,
and I understand that, bruh. One thing though I've learned, and not that I don't still deal with some things. I've dealt with depression, and I still get bouts of it from time to time. I've had to learn to speak life into my own self. That's one thing we don't realize. We can't always wait for somebody else to speak good things to us or to save us. God gave us, first of all, we got unconditional love from God. But he gave us the ability to love ourselves as well. And to speak life into ourselves. Right. And we can combat a lot of those things by loving ourselves. And I like that you said that you went back to playing the drums. Because it was something that you enjoy.
Right.
And the thing is, people get as good as they get because they practice. And just doing it. And one thing I've read recently that I like, we can't control the storm. We can't control other people, what they say and what they do.
Yep.
We can only control how we respond to it.
You're absolutely right, sis, because, and literally, I mean, and the first time I touched drums since, professionally would be since about 2007. Now, you know how big of a gap that is.
Yeah.
And what was crazy, when we was going through marriage counselor and I was talking with our pastor, and he was like, looking for a drummer, for this benefit concert. So, I'm like, you know what? I'll just go ahead and do it. I ain't had no problem with it. It's been a minute since I done it, so I didn't know if I still had it. But, it's like riding a bike. Once you do it, you never forget it. And I'm 4 years back in. And every day I just get stronger and better.
That's awesome.
And that's the thing. I mean, it's the same thing with, me in school. I went to college so many times and I was the start-stop kid. Everything that could happen, I was steady giving up every time. Oh, well, I need to do this. This is more important than this. Or I would just quit altogether and go find something else to do.
I'm guilty of that.
I was not committed to it. And a lot of it had to do with my psychological stance of, well, why put forth the effort? Everybody said I can't do it no way. And it wasn't until God brought the opportunity back last year And I had to make a decision. Either
Okay.
I'm going to see this through or I'm not.
I'm gonna tell you something that helped me, and I've never told you this. And I don't. Hopefully, I don't get slapped in the back of the head when I say this. I have about 2 blocks left before I graduate in an audio engineer.
Awesome.
It scares me. It scares
Why
me.
did it scare you?
It scares me so much because I've always done factory, hospital, but the one thing that comes to me quicker than I can snap my fingers
It's technology.
scares me because I'm no longer single. I actually have a group of individuals that love me.
Amen.
That scares me because when you're not used to, the Greek word is agape. It's strange. Hatred, I can deal with. I dealt with it from blacks, whites, and all different nationalities. You say something stupid to me, I say something stupid right back to you. That's cool. I can get down with that. But pure love. I'm not talking about the one you can buy for $6.99 plus tax,
Oh Lord.
Even that
That's
cheap,
some
ain't it?
funky love.
or for $19.99 per every few minute phone call, or if it's a pay-per-view per every $100.
Oh my gosh.
I'm talking about genuine love. Like, I achieved something and you celebrate it like as if you had done it. I have new strength now because I know that I have love. And
That's awesome.
you guys been pushing me, and I've been hearing literally since I became a part of Agape that there is so much in you. You're more than just a drummer. I thought of that first. I thought the individual that said it was a couple of cans short of a 6-pack. Now I would never tell her that to her face, but I did.
Okay.
But she told me. And look at me now. It's crazy because the same month that I was released from the hospital is the same month that I graduate. Matter of fact, it's the same week that I graduate with my engineering degree.
Okay.
And that's what you call power. When you finally learn your worth and your purpose, and you no longer live in toxicity. That abuse is something that's so prevalent, and it's insane the things that we say to one another, how some abuse power, and as you said, Von, do even just doing it because they feel like they can, or because they
Right.
don't know any better. But
Yes.
when it all comes down to it, we have to take accountability for our words and our
Yes.
actions. If I feel like it's like that old saying that we were taught as kids: if you don't have nothing nice to say, don't say nothing at all. That's about the best way to approach it, to keep it, because once you start, it's hard to stop. And I think everybody's guilty of it. Talking about somebody, talking down on
Oh,
some,
gossiping.
right. And all of it is a part of mental abuse. And it
Yes, it
takes
is.
years for some people. And I mean
It took me
years.
30.
And
Years.
don't forget about the name calling.
Oh,
Oh,
I
yeah.
just
listen, don't
experienced
even
that
let me get started.
recently.
Don't let me get started with that. I can't tell you how many times I heard you will never find somebody that love you because you ain't worth it. Matter of fact, I was getting ready to go somewhere, but
Don't go there. Don't go there.
Amen.
I'm just gonna put it in a slightly different tune. When it was stated
It's like-
in the
Mhm.
beginning that basically I wasn't on your level.
Cut.
Wow.
I can't tell you. And to this day, they still don't know I overheard that question. Matter of fact, I didn't even tell you till about a year later that I heard that whole conversation? Mm-hmm. When it was said to you, you don't know this. But after you left that day, I literally went into my bedroom and cried for about an hour. And I am not a man that cry. Period. I had literally thought that they just cost me the greatest situation that has ever happened to me in my life. But the part that hurted me the worst was when it was suggested
Oh, yeah, okay.
that another
Yeah,
family member is on your level.
That's still funny to me. But, I mean,
Oh, wow.
I think when it all boils down to it, there were a lot of things that were said all around the border. And as Von has said too, things have been said about her, things have been said. But again, as I stated, you know, sometimes all people know is poison.
That's true.
This ain't BBD.
No, but that's just true. Some people only know poison. And there are people who get excitement off of tearing someone else down to build themselves
Yes,
up.
they do.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
And we all just have to remember that now we're of age of a choice.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So you can choose to accept somebody else's bad behavior. You can choose to allow somebody else's words to impact you, or you can choose to do what sis said. Speak life into yourself. The authority is in our courts now. It's not like it was when we were children.
And that was the hardest thing for me to learn, was to speak life. Even to this day, I still struggle with speaking life into me, because for over a better part of 3 decades, all I heard was, you ain't nothing.
Mm-hmm. And that's that. When it all boils down to it, the choice is now ours. And I had to learn that we can't blame anybody else now. Because now it's about you can't control, like Sis said, you can't control what somebody else do, but you have the power to choose what you're going to accept.
And brother, before the show ends, let me challenge you with this. I think what I suggest is that you practice loving yourself more. See, what happened all them years, them people didn't teach you how to love yourself. By talking to you like that or treating you any kind of way, you didn't get to learn to love yourself. And if you look in 1 Corinthians chapter 13, that's the love chapter. I want you to read that. I'm sure you've been through it in marriage counseling and you read it as far as my sister concerned. But the next time you read it, I want you to put your name in there. And I want you to ask yourself, if you loving yourself this way? Are you loving yourself patiently? Are you being kind to yourself? Are you being boastful or proud? Are you dishonoring yourself in any kind of way? Are you being self-seeking? Are you being angry with yourself? And are you keeping records of all the wrong things you're doing instead of counting your blessings and the right things that you're doing? It says, love does not delight in evil, but rejoices in the truth. You have to rejoice in the truth that what you just said. You said, I am love. And if you truly believe that now, and is convinced that God loves you, your wife loves you, and all those close by who love you, then you're not going to have any problem going forward with people being negative towards you or trying to say any kind of thing about you. Because it should be, you could bounce it off. It might sting in a moment, but remember who you are. And if nothing else, you be like, you know what, I love myself. If they reject me, fine. I'm not going to reject myself.
Mm-hmm.
Hello?
Yeah.
I thought I lost y'all.
No, you ain't lost me.
I mean, but that's...
And I give myself this encouraging talk a lot. Because everybody won't like you. Everybody won't be happy for you. And that is fine. That's their choice.
Yeah.
But I have to tell myself, you know what? I'm not going to reject me. I like me. And if it's something I don't like about myself, I have the power to change it. But I'm not going to base it on other people's opinions about me.
Yes, ma'am. You're absolutely right. Wow. Mouthful there.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing, because as Sis said, I'll take it back some years ago. And Sis, you'll remember this because you'll probably start laughing. But some years ago, I called Sis crying. And I said to her, why don't nobody love me? What is wrong with me that I'm getting all this hatred and da 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 da, and I was just going, and I was in full blown tears. And her exact words to me, and I live by these words. And this is how I learned to stop letting people hurt me, because of what she taught me. She said, don't take it as if people don't love you. She says some people just love selfishly.
Yeah.
In other words, it's a one-sided love.
Yeah.
And she will, and it's been about 7-8 years, and she will never know how impactful that was, because that moment taught me to stop having expectations of people. Stop expecting people to love me the way that I love them. I understand I'm an original.
Yeah.
And if I'm loving people or giving to people with the expectation of getting it back, then I'm not giving from my heart.
That's true.
So I have to be me. And whether you receive that or you don't receive that, or you receive it halfway, as long as I know I completed the assignment that God gave me to do, I can't worry about nothing else concerning that. That moment brought about a peace to me. And it has allowed me to transition into the things that God has me doing today. And even working through therapy and learning boundaries and working through the mental anguish and the abuse, I can say I thank God for where I am today.
Amen.
And it started with just that statement of some people love selfishly.
Yes.
That was a seed that was planted that she doesn't even realize she planted until now.
Thank God. I needed to be reminded of that.
Well, as always, you ladies, y'all bring the heat to the point that we gotta listen. Count down to the last few moments. I'm gonna say this. For those that are listening, that may or may not have someone to tell you that you're great and that they love you and that you're wonderful. I want you to get up every day in the morning, look in the mirror and say, hey, you, I love you. You're doing a great job. Keep up the good work.
Yeah.
At lunchtime,
Yes, you are.
go into a bathroom in the mirror.
Yes.
Repeat it. Dinner time, repeat it. And before you lay down and close your eyes and go to sleep, go in the bathroom and repeat it. Every time you get a chance, whether you go to the bathroom, I want you to repeat it. I am somebody. For Double V, for Mrs. Sutton, I'm Seti Said. This is After Effects. We love you and appreciate you. See you soon.